For years, people have wondered if there was more to Princess Diana's death than what the world was told. Many believe it wasn't just an accident, that powerful people might have been involved. Now, something shocking has come to light. Prince Harry has allegedly revealed a full list of names, people who may have had a role in what really happened that night. This changes everything. For so long, the truth has been kept in the dark. But now the doors to the past are opening, and what's behind them could shake the world. If these names are real, it means that Diana's death wasn't just a tragic event. It was something far bigger. Something that powerful people never wanted anyone to know. But if this information is out, what happens now? Will justice finally be served? Or will the truth be silenced once again? Prince Harry's struggle with the official narrative. For years, Prince Harry has struggled with what the world was told about his mother's death. While the official story has always been that Diana's car crashed in Paris because the driver was drunk and paparazzi were chasing them, Harry has never fully believed that. Deep down, he always felt there was something more, something people were not saying out loud. In different interviews over the years, Harry hinted that he had questions that were never answered. He once said he didn't trust the people who carried out the investigation. It felt like everyone was too quick to blame the driver or the paparazzi, but no one ever looked deeper. Harry made it clear that even as a child, he wondered why his mother didn't have proper protection that night. Why were they driving so fast? Why was no one there to save her? His anger toward the media is no secret. In many of his interviews, Harry has shared how much he blames the press for his mother's death. He believes they hunted her like an animal, chasing her until the very end. He also feels the media never took responsibility for what happened. Instead, they wrote story after story, made money off Diana's tragedy, and moved on like nothing happened. Harry's book, Spare, gives us a closer look at his pain. In the book, he writes about how he used to ask his driver to go through the same tunnel where his mother died, hoping to understand how it all happened. That image alone shows just how much this loss has haunted him. And then came his Netflix docuseries, where he and Meghan Markle opened up even more. In one episode, Harry almost breaks down as he talks about how history was repeating itself. He saw how the media was going after Meghan the same way they went after Diana. That's when Harry said something that made everyone stop and think. He hinted there was more to the story of Diana's death. Something darker. Something the world still doesn't know. But the real question is, why now? Why would Harry choose this moment to leak the full list of people involved? Some say Harry has reached a breaking point. After leaving the royal family, losing his royal duties, and fighting endless media battles, maybe this is Harry's way of finally setting the record straight. He's no longer tied to the palace. He's no longer scared. Maybe for the first time in his life, Harry feels free enough to tell the truth. Or maybe it's because he now has children of his own. Maybe he looks at Archie and Lilibet and thinks, they deserve to know what really happened to their grandmother. Either way, if this leak is true, it's one of the biggest royal bombshells we've ever seen. The alleged leak. Who was on the list? Now let's talk about the leaked list that everyone's talking about. Before we dive into the names, let's be clear, this is still speculative. It's not officially confirmed by any government or court. But the sources say the leak came directly from Harry, or someone very close to him. The list is shocking. It includes powerful people. People you'd never expect to be connected to Diana's death. First, there are mentions of senior royal advisors. No specific names have been released, but words like high-ranking royal figures are being used. People who had a lot to lose if Diana married Dodi Al-Fayed. People who worried about how Diana's choices would change the future of the monarchy. Then, there are whispers of British intelligence agencies, especially MI6. Some reports say that MI6 was tracking Diana in her final days. They were worried about what she might reveal or who she might marry. It's a scary thought. But if true, it means her death was not just a tragic accident, but something far more planned. French authorities are also being questioned in the leak. Many people have wondered for years why the French police handled the accident the way they did. Why was the crash scene not secured properly? Why did it take so long for Diana to get to the hospital? Why were so many reports filled with mistakes? According to the leak, some believe the French authorities were either covering something up or were part of a bigger plan. The leak doesn't stop there, doesn't. It also points fingers at media moguls and certain tabloid editors. These are the people who paid the paparazzi to chase Diana that night. Some of these media bosses had close connections to the royal family and the British government. Could it be possible that they were working together to silence Diana once and for all? And of course, we can't ignore Mohammed Al-Fayed's long-standing claims. Dodi's father has always believed that Diana's death was planned. For years, he said that powerful people didn't want Diana to marry his son because of their Muslim background. He believed they feared that the future King of England would have a Muslim stepfather, or even Muslim siblings. This motive, according to the leak, might be the real reason behind everything. It's chilling to think about. If this list is real, it means Diana's death was never about a drunk driver or a speeding car. It was about power, fear, and control. And now, with this leak, the world is being forced to look at everything all over again. The royal family's reaction to the leak. As you can imagine, this leak has sent shockwaves through the royal family. But publicly, they are silent. There has been no official statement, no press conference, just complete silence. It's almost like they're hoping if they don't say anything, the story will disappear. Behind closed doors, though, the royal family is probably in panic mode. This is not just another tabloid rumor. If the list is real, it puts some of the most powerful people in Britain in a very bad light. For King Charles, Prince William, and other senior royals. This leak could reopen old wounds and start new fights. Some experts believe that the royal family's no-comment strategy is their way of controlling the situation. If they speak, they might confirm the story is true. If they stay quiet, people are left guessing. But one thing is certain. This leak will make the already deep rift between Harry and his family even worse. There's almost no coming back from this. Potential repercussions of this leak. The big question now is what happens next? What kind of trouble could Harry be in for leaking something like this? Some legal experts say that if Harry named people without hard proof, he could face lawsuits. He might be accused of defamation or breaking national security rules. There's even a chance his security could be taken away, leaving him and his family vulnerable. But it's not just Harry who could face trouble. This leak might force the British government to respond. People around the world are already calling for a new investigation into Diana's death. If that happens, the royal family and many powerful figures could be dragged into the spotlight once again. For the monarchy, this leak is a nightmare. Their image has already been damaged over the years, from scandals to royal exits. And now this? The very foundation of the royal family, trust, honor, and duty, is being questioned. If the public starts to believe that the royals had a hand in Diana's death, it could change everything. What does this mean for Prince Harry's future? With everything that's happening, one can't help but wonder, what does this mean for Prince Harry? Is this the final straw? Is he done with the royal family for good? Some people believe this leak is Harry's way of burning the last bridge. Maybe he knows he can never go back. Maybe in his heart, he feels that telling the truth about his mother is more important than being part of the royal family. But there's another side to this too. Some say this leak could actually bring Harry more support. People who lost faith in the royals might now see Harry as the only honest voice in a family full of secrets. This could be his moment to finally break free and create his own legacy. One that's not tied to the crown. Still, this is dangerous ground. If the leak leads to legal action or threats, Harry could lose everything. his royal titles, his protection, even his connection to the UK. But knowing Harry, maybe he's already accepted that. Maybe for him, the truth about Diana is worth any price. And who knows? Maybe this leak will finally push the world to demand justice for Diana. Maybe, after all these years, her death won't be just another tragic story. Maybe, because of Harry, people will finally get the answers they've been waiting for. The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard people try to bury it. If what Prince Harry revealed is real, this could change everything we thought we knew about Princess Diana's death. But the big question remains, will justice finally be served? Or will those in power do everything they can to keep it hidden? Make sure to stay updated, because more shocking details could surface at any moment. Prince Harry never expected this day to come so soon. A strong man, always standing tall, now left in tears after seeing something that changed his world. His children, Archie and Lilibet, have grown in ways no one saw coming. The little ones he once held in his arms are no longer the same. And the change hit him harder than anyone could have guessed. As a father, he dreamed of giving them a happy and peaceful life, away from royal rules. But now, something about them is different. Something so powerful that it brought out emotions he couldn't hold back. Those who know him say they've never seen him like this before. What really happened to his children? And why did it move him to tears? The truth behind this moment is something no one expected. The unexpected moment that touched Prince Harry's heart. It was a normal, sunny afternoon in Montecito, California, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle now live with their two beautiful children, Archie and Lilibet. Far away from the noise, the paparazzi, and the royal expectations, the family has built a peaceful life. Simple, quiet, and full of love. But sometimes, even in the most ordinary days, life surprises us with moments that hit right in the heart. And that day, Prince Harry found himself standing still, his eyes filled with tears, watching his children do something that he never expected. What unfolded in front of him wasn't dramatic or grand. It was simple, pure, and deeply emotional. The kind of moment every parent lives for but can never predict. It was a moment that reminded Harry of his mother, Princess Diana, and everything he had left behind in his royal life. It was the kind of moment that made him realize maybe all his tough choices were worth it after all. Archie's unexpected act of kindness. That afternoon, Archie was playing outside, his little feet running around the garden, chasing butterflies and laughing freely, the way children should. The sky was clear, and the air smelled like fresh flowers. Meghan sat nearby, watching her children, while Harry stood at a distance, smiling. For once, there were no cameras, no flashing lights, just family. Suddenly, Archie stopped. He spotted something that made him pause. A tiny bird, fallen from its nest, laying helpless on the grass. The poor thing looked weak and scared, fluttering its tiny wings, but unable to fly. Most children might have ignored it, or called out for help, but Archie did something no one expected. Slowly, carefully, Archie walked over and knelt down next to the little bird. He looked at it with the softest eyes, full of concern, as if he could feel the little creature's pain. And then, in the sweetest voice, he whispered, "It's okay, little bird. I'm here. Don't be scared." He reached out his small hands, but didn't touch, just staying close, letting the bird know it wasn't alone. Harry watched this unfold, and his heart ached in the best way possible. Right there, in that moment, he saw his own mother. Princess Diana was known for her kindness, her ability to care deeply for the most helpless. She used to comfort the sick, hold the hands of those everyone else ignored, and always chose love over everything else. Watching Archie, Harry felt like his mother's spirit was right there, not in some big royal event, but in this small, beautiful act of kindness. He couldn't stop the tears. They filled his eyes and rolled down his cheeks because he knew Diana would have been so proud. Lilibet's beautiful surprise. And just as Harry wiped his tears, trying to steady his breath, another surprise came. This time from little Lilibet. Sweet, curious Lilibet, named after Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname, was sitting nearby watching everything. She stood up, her little hands brushing down her dress, as if preparing herself to say something important. She walked over to where her father stood, and in the softest, most innocent British accent, she asked, "Daddy, isn't it beautiful?" She pointed toward the garden, where flowers were blooming and birds were singing. Her voice was light, graceful, and carried a certain charm that caught Harry off guard. What struck Harry the most wasn't just the words, but the way she spoke, with a poise that seemed far beyond her age. Even though Lilibet was born in America and had spent all her young life away from the royal palace, there was something undeniably royal in that moment. Her gentle accent, her careful words, it felt like a piece of his heritage. Something Harry thought his children might lose by living so far from home was still there, alive in her. Harry looked at Meghan, who smiled softly, her eyes sparkling with pride. They both knew they had tried hard to create a life that was free from royal pressure. But hearing Lilibet speak like that, it was as if their past and present had met right there in their garden. Why this moment moved Prince Harry to tears. For Prince Harry, this wasn't just another afternoon. This moment, simple as it was, carried the weight of everything he had ever felt. His love, his loss, his dreams, and his fears. Seeing Archie's kindness reminded him so strongly of Diana that it almost felt like she was watching them. It was like she had passed her best qualities on to her grandson, without even being here. That thought alone was enough to break Harry's heart open, but in a good way. And then Lilibet, with her royal grace and soft accent, brought Harry right back to his roots. It reminded him that no matter where they live, or how far they are from the palace, his children are still part of that history, part of that royal bloodline. But what made him cry wasn't pride in their royal status. It was the realization that his children were growing up carrying the best parts of that legacy. Kindness, empathy, grace, not the duty or the heavy expectations that had once crushed him. Harry had spent years struggling with the pain of losing his mother, fighting against the royal system, and trying to protect his family. There were days when he must have wondered if he made the right choice leaving the royal life behind. But that day, watching his children, he got his answer. His tears were not of sadness, but of relief, pride, and overwhelming love. Meghan Markle's quiet strength. In that moment, and through it all, Meghan stood by, watching her husband and her children with a knowing smile. She didn't say much, but her pride was clear in her eyes. Meghan has been Harry's anchor through so many storms. She helped him break free from a life that was breaking him. She gave him the space to heal, to be the father he always wanted to be. Together, Harry and Meghan promised each other they would raise their children differently, with love, freedom, and emotional safety. No royal duties, no strict protocols, just kindness, honesty, and respect for every living being. That afternoon, they saw the result of that promise right in front of them. Meghan must have felt a rush of emotions too, seeing her children so naturally embody both their American upbringing and their royal roots. It was a perfect balance, and it showed her that they were doing something right. Their children were growing up strong, kind, and full of love. Everything any parent could wish for, the unspoken connection to Princess Diana. As Harry stood there, tears still fresh in his eyes, one thing became very clear. His mother was still with him, not physically, but in spirit. Through Archie's empathy and Lilibet's grace, Diana lived on. Harry had always feared that by leaving the royal family, his children would lose that connection. But in that small moment, he realized they hadn't lost anything. Instead, they had gained something even more precious: the freedom to be who they truly are, while still carrying the best parts of their history. There was a time when Harry was just a little boy, walking behind his mother's coffin, trying to stay strong. He had lost her too soon, and that pain shaped him. But now, as a grown man, he was watching his own children grow. Not in the shadow of pain, but in the light of love. The beauty of choosing love over royal duty. That moment in the garden was more than just about a bird or a sweet British accent. It was about what truly matters in life: love, kindness, empathy, and family. Harry chose to leave everything he knew behind to protect his family. He faced judgment, criticism, and hate. But that day, watching his children, he knew it was all worth it. Because in the end, titles and crowns don't matter. What matters is raising children who know how to care for others, who speak with kindness, and who aren't afraid to show love. That is the real legacy Harry wants to leave behind. Not the royal throne, but a family that heals the wounds of the past. The princess who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photography. August 31st, 1997. A night that shook the world. A princess, a car, a tunnel in Paris, and then silence. But before that tragic moment, before the flashing lights and the chaos, there was something else. A message. A final warning, hidden for years, buried beneath rumors and speculation. Now, for the first time, the truth comes to light. What did Princess Diana say at 35, just before her untimely death? And why does it send chills down the spine even today? The chilling final message. Have you ever had a strong feeling that something bad was going to happen? A feeling so deep that you couldn't shake it off? Now, imagine writing that fear down, putting your worst thoughts into words, only for them to come true in the most tragic way possible. That's exactly what happened to a beloved public figure, a woman admired by millions, a woman who was once part of a powerful family, but later became their biggest problem. 2 years before her shocking and untimely passing, she wrote a message that still haunts those who read it, a message that seemed to predict her own death. So, what exactly was in this letter? What did she write that made so many people believe she knew she was in danger? The letter was addressed to someone she trusted, a person who had been by her side for years. In it, she made a terrifying claim. She believed there was a plan to get rid of her. Not in an obvious way, but in a way that would look completely accidental. She wrote, "I am sitting here today, feeling afraid. This phase of my life is the most dangerous." Then came the most chilling part. "There are plans for an accident in my car. Brake failure, a head injury. It will be done to clear the way." Think about that for a second. She wrote those words 2 years before she died in a car crash. And what was the cause? A serious head injury. Does that sound like just a coincidence? Or was she warning the world in advance? Why did she write it? Now you might be wondering, why would she write something like this? Was she just being paranoid? Or was there something going on behind the scenes that the public didn't know about? By this time, her life had already changed completely. She was no longer part of the family she once belonged to. The marriage that had made her famous was over. She was no longer the quiet, smiling figure the world had once adored. She was speaking out. She was sharing secrets, and more importantly, she was becoming too powerful. People still loved her, maybe even too much. She had a voice, and the world was listening. And that made her dangerous. She told close friends she was afraid. She felt like she was being watched. She believed her phone was tapped. She even told her personal security that if something ever happened to her, people should question it. Now stop and think for a moment. How often does someone say, "If I die, don't believe it was an accident"? That's not something a person says, unless they truly believe they are in danger. And she believed it. She had seen what happened when someone got in the way of the powerful. She had seen how things were controlled, how stories were shaped, how problems were made to disappear. And she had become a problem. She wasn't just another face in a famous family anymore. She was bigger than that. She had built a name for herself, separate from them. She had the love of millions, and she used that influence to do things they didn't approve of. And once she started speaking up, the whispers began. Tensions, with the powerful and the watchful eyes. Her relationship with those in control had started off well. At first, they embraced her. She was young, beautiful, and perfect for the role she had been given. But over time, something changed. She was no longer following the script. She was no longer doing what was expected. And that was a problem. She knew too much. She had seen too much. And most of all, she wasn't afraid anymore. She once told a friend that she found hidden devices in her home, that her calls sounded different, like someone was always listening. And she even said that her car had been tampered with before. And if that wasn't disturbing enough, she once asked a member of her security team a terrifying question. "Are you going to kill me?" Just let that sink in. A woman, once loved by the world, asking the people who were meant to protect her if they were planning to take her life. These were not the words of someone imagining things. These were the words of someone who felt the walls closing in. And then, 2 years later, her nightmare became a reality. Diana's last days. Princess. Diana's final days were filled with love, happiness, and fear. She was in love, but she was also being watched. She was trying to live freely, but she couldn't escape the cameras. And on the night of August 30th, 1997, everything changed forever. Diana had spent her last summer with a new man, Dodi Fayed. He was the son of Mohammed Al-Fayed, the owner of Harrods and one of the richest men in the world. He was charming, wealthy, and deeply in love with Diana. Together they sailed through the Mediterranean on his luxurious yacht. Photographs of them kissing and holding hands were on every newspaper and magazine cover. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale. But was it? Diana had always attracted attention. But now, the media obsession had reached a dangerous level. Paparazzi followed them everywhere. Every move she made, every moment of her private life, was caught on camera. Some believe that this media frenzy was just because of her fame. Others think it was something more. Diana was a woman with influence. She spoke against landmines. She challenged the royal family. She was seen as a threat by some powerful people. Was she being followed just for pictures? Or was she being watched for something else? On August 30th, 1997, she and Dodi arrived in Paris. It was supposed to be just another night. Instead, it would be her last. Diana hated the paparazzi. They had chased her for years. They had broken into her privacy, snapped pictures of her crying, followed her even when she tried to be alone. But in Paris, things were worse than ever. Outside the Ritz Hotel, where Diana and Dodi were staying, a swarm of photographers waited. They had followed the couple from the airport. They had watched them enter the hotel. They were waiting for them to come out again. Diana was used to this, but this time it felt different. She had once told a friend, "I think they are going to kill me one day." Was that just a fear? Or did she know something we didn't? Diana and Dodi didn't want to stay at the hotel that night. They wanted to go to Dodi's apartment, a short drive away. But with all the photographers outside, they needed a plan. So they tried something desperate. They decided to use a different car, a decoy, to throw off the paparazzi. The plan was simple. Make the media chase the wrong car while they quietly left from the back entrance. It should have worked, but it didn't. The last journey of Princess Diana. At around 12:20 a.m. on August 31st, Diana, Dodi, and their driver, Henri Paul, left the Ritz Hotel in a black Mercedes-Benz S280. The only other person in the car was Diana's bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones. As soon as they drove away, the chase began. The paparazzi realized what had happened and sped after them on motorcycles. Some of them were only trying to get a picture. Others seemed desperate to follow the car, no matter how dangerous it was. Henri Paul started speeding. Witnesses say the car was going much faster than normal. It weaved through the streets of Paris, trying to lose the photographers. But no matter how fast they went, the cameras were right behind them. Then, they reached the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. What happened next is still debated to this day. The car entered the tunnel at high speed. Witnesses say they saw a bright flash. Then suddenly the car lost control. It swerved. It smashed into the 13th pillar of the tunnel. The impact was brutal. The car spun, hit the wall again, and finally stopped. In a matter of seconds, everything had changed. The scene inside the tunnel was horrifying. The car was completely destroyed. The metal was twisted. Glass was shattered everywhere. And inside, a princess lay dying. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul were killed instantly. Diana, however, was still alive. She was injured, but she was breathing. Her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, was also severely injured but managed to survive. Minutes later, the ambulance arrived. But instead of rushing her to the hospital immediately, something strange happened. The ambulance stayed at the scene for a long time. Some reports say Diana was talking when they found her. Some say she was asking for help. But she wasn't taken to the hospital quickly. Instead, the ambulance drove slowly, taking over an hour to reach the hospital. At 4 a.m., the news broke. Princess Diana was dead. The world froze. Millions of people couldn't believe it. How could Diana, the woman who had survived everything, suddenly be gone? The grief was overwhelming. Crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace. Flowers were left at her home. The world had lost its princess. But not everyone believed it was an accident. French and UK investigations. After Diana's death, the French authorities launched an investigation. They looked at the crash, the driver, the paparazzi, and everything else that might have played a role. In the end, they said it was an accident. Years later, the UK's Operation Paget did its own investigation. The conclusion? The same as the French report. Henri Paul was drunk. The car was going too fast. And the crash was nobody's fault. But here's the thing. Many believe these investigations weren't as thorough as they should have been. Some even say they were designed to shut down conspiracy theories, rather than explore them. For example, Operation Paget was supposed to investigate whether Diana had been murdered. But they spent most of their time proving that it was an accident instead. Even stranger, certain key witnesses weren't properly questioned. Some people who had important information were ignored. And when new evidence came up, it was quickly dismissed. If there was nothing to hide, why did the investigations feel so rushed? The role of the driver, Henri Paul. Henri Paul was blamed almost immediately. He was accused of drinking too much and losing control of the car. But let's look at the facts. Yes, his toxicology report showed alcohol in his system, but the amount was shockingly high, so high that he should have been barely able to stand. And yet, footage from that night shows him walking normally. He bends down to tie his shoe. He speaks clearly to hotel staff. He doesn't look drunk at all. So how is that possible? Some believe his toxicology report was tampered with, that someone altered the results to make him look guilty. And then there's the matter of his role. Henri Paul wasn't just some driver. He was the head of security at the Ritz Hotel. A man in that position would have been trained to handle pressure, to drive safely even in extreme situations. Would someone like that really make such a reckless mistake? Or was he just an easy target to take the blame? Even more mysterious, Henri Paul had a large amount of cash on him that night. Some say it was proof that he had been paid off. But paid off by who? And for what reason? Was Diana a threat? The most chilling theory is that Diana was killed on purpose. Some believe she had become a problem for powerful people who wanted her out of the way. But why? One of the biggest claims comes from Mohammed Al-Fayed, the father of Dodi Fayed. Claims by Mohammed Al-Fayed. Mohammed Al-Fayed has always insisted that his son and Diana were murdered. He claims they were about to get engaged, that Diana was pregnant, and that this was a huge problem for the British royal family. Now, why would that be a problem? Because Diana was the mother of the future King of England. If she married Dodi, her new child, an Egyptian Muslim, would have been the half-sibling of Prince William. To some, that may not seem like a big deal, but to others, it would have been unacceptable. Mohammed Al-Fayed believed the royal family didn't want Diana connected to them anymore. He believed they saw her relationship with Dodi as a disgrace, and so, according to him, they got rid of her. But was there any real proof? Diana's body was examined after the crash, and the official reports say there was no sign of pregnancy. But could those results have been changed? Could they have hidden the truth? Some believe it's possible. And then there's Diana's own warning, her prediction of her own death. Did she know what was coming? This is the part of the story that haunts people the most. In 1995, Diana wrote a note to her butler, Paul Burrell. In that note, she said something chilling. She wrote that someone was planning to kill her. And not just in any way, she specifically said it would happen in a car crash. Now think about that. She didn't just say she was scared. She didn't just say she felt unsafe. She described in detail the exact way she would die 2 years before it happened. That is either an unbelievable coincidence or proof that she knew someone was after her. Who was she afraid of? She never mentioned names. But she did say one thing, that it would happen when she was in a car with brake problems. Doesn't that sound exactly like what happened? Even if you don't believe in conspiracy theories, some things about that night just don't make sense. Let's talk about the missing CCTV footage. Missing CCTV footage. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel was in a busy part of Paris. It had security cameras. But when investigators looked for footage of the crash, there was nothing. No video, no images. The cameras, we were told, weren't working that night. Isn't that convenient? One of the most famous women in the world is being chased by photographers, and the one place that could have captured exactly what happened just happened to have no footage. That seems hard to believe. If there was footage, was it hidden? Was it erased? And if so, why? Delayed medical response. Another strange thing. Diana was still alive after the crash. She was even conscious at first. People who saw her said she was talking. Yet for some reason, the ambulance took an extremely long time to get her to the hospital. She didn't reach the hospital until almost 2 hours after the crash. Now, compare that to normal emergency response times. In life-threatening situations, every second matters. In a city like Paris, an ambulance should have been able to get to a hospital within minutes. So why the delay? Some believe Diana could have been saved if she had received treatment sooner. That if she had been rushed to the hospital immediately, she might still be alive today. Was this just a tragic mistake? Or was someone making sure she wouldn't survive? Princess. Diana was more than just a royal. She was a mother, a friend, and a woman who touched the hearts of millions. When she died, the world stood still. People couldn't believe it. How could someone so full of life be gone just like that? It wasn't just a tragedy. It was a moment that changed everything, especially for the royal family and her 2 young sons, William and Harry. But here's something to think about. Did her death really change the monarchy? Or did it just reveal what was already broken? At the time, the royal family was seen as distant and cold. They followed strict traditions, and emotions were rarely shown in public. When Diana died, the public expected the royals to show their grief, to speak out, to comfort the people who were mourning, but they didn't. Instead, the palace stayed quiet. The Queen remained in Scotland, and for days there was no official statement, no flag at half-mast. Nothing. People were angry. They felt like Diana had been abandoned, even in death. The public pressure was so strong that the Queen eventually gave a rare speech calling Diana an exceptional and gifted human being. But the damage was done. The royal family realized that they couldn't stay the same. If they wanted to survive, they had to change. And they did. In the years after Diana's death, the monarchy became more open, more modern. They started connecting with the public in a way they never had before. Prince Charles took on more humanitarian work. The Queen started showing more emotion in public. And suddenly, the royals weren't just figures in history books. They were human. But the biggest impact was on William and Harry. Can you imagine losing your mother at such a young age? William was just 15, Harry was only 12. One day, they had a mom who hugged them, laughed with them, and told them bedtime stories. The next day, she was gone. And worse, the whole world was watching their pain. They had to walk behind her coffin in front of millions of people. How do you even process something like that? Diana's death shaped them in ways they probably didn't even realize at the time. William, knowing he would be king one day, became more responsible. He followed the royal path, but carried his mother's warmth with him. He made sure to be the kind of future king who connects with people, who listens, who shows emotion. Harry, on the other hand, struggled. He was the spare to the throne, the boy who didn't have a clear role. Without his mother's guidance, he felt lost. He acted out, made mistakes, and later spoke about how he buried his emotions for years. But one thing was clear. Both brothers never forgot their mother's lessons. They continued her work, speaking about mental health, supporting charities, and making sure that Diana's legacy didn't die with her. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as powerful as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments, what do you think Diana's impact would be if she were alive today? The death of Princess Diana sparked countless rumors and speculations over the years. Yet many questions remain unanswered. These questions have lingered in the shadows for decades. Well, in a surprising twist, it turns out the answers we've all longed for lie within the dramatic final 24 hours of her life. Join us in this video as we uncover the untold story of Diana's last day, revealing the shocking truth behind the events that led to her untimely death. The final afternoon, the day that changed the world. The morning of Saturday, the 30th of August, started like any other for Princess Diana. Though her life was anything but ordinary, she was enjoying the last days of a Mediterranean holiday in Sardinia, Italy, accompanied by her companion, Dodi Al-Fayed. While the serene surroundings offered some semblance of peace, Diana was never truly away from the public eye. Relentless paparazzi had trailed the couple for months, capturing every moment of their budding romance. By early afternoon, Diana and Dodi boarded a private jet belonging to Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, a billionaire businessman and owner of the prestigious Ritz Hotel in Paris. Their destination was Paris, where they planned to spend one night before returning to London. Despite their efforts to escape the prying lenses of photographers, their plans were thwarted. Somewhere along the line, someone had tipped off the press, and the Paris paparazzi were ready and waiting. Their flight from Sardinia to Le Bourget Airport, a VIP hub in Paris, lasted just under 2 hours. At exactly 3:20 p.m., the jet touched down. Outside the airport, a swarm of more than 20 photographers on motorbikes and scooters awaited their arrival, eager for their chance at exclusive shots of the couple. Cameras flashed incessantly as Diana and Dodi disembarked, accompanied by their bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, and chauffeur, Henri Paul. From the airport, the group traveled to the Ritz Hotel in a sleek Mercedes, with a backup Range Rover following closely behind. Michael Cole, a spokesperson for the Al Fayed family, later remarked that their arrival was anything but calm, with photographers riding alongside the car, snapping pictures at every turn. The chaos deeply unsettled Diana. According to reports, she expressed her concern for the paparazzi, stating, "One of these people is going to get themselves killed." Her worry was not for her own safety, but for the reckless behavior of the photographers pursuing them. That afternoon marked the start of what would become one of the most tragic and dramatic chapters in modern history. A day that began with a flight from Sardinia and would end with the world mourning the loss of its beloved people's princess. Keep watching. Moments at the Ritz Hotel and struggles with paparazzi. After their eventful arrival in Paris, Princess Diana and Dodi Al Fayed sought refuge in the lap of luxury at the Ritz Hotel, one of the world's most opulent establishments. It was approximately 4:30 in the afternoon when they checked into the Imperial Suite. While their stay was meant to be a brief respite, the persistent shadow of paparazzi followed them relentlessly. By 6:30 that evening, Dodi managed to slip away unnoticed to visit an exclusive jewelry store near Pien. Here, he discreetly collected a ring the couple had chosen 10 days earlier during a visit to the jeweler's Monte Carlo location. When asked about the ring's selection, a jeweler revealed they chose it together. It was a very engaging moment. The nature of their relationship and whether an engagement was imminent has since been a topic of endless speculation, with one commentator noting, "If this planet lasts another 1,000 years, people will still be debating it." But that's not all. At 7 o'clock, Dodi and Diana left the Ritz to visit Dodi's apartment on the Champs-Élysées. The couple may have hoped to enjoy a private moment, but photographers were already stationed outside the residence, waiting to capture their every move. The paparazzi's relentless pursuit had become so invasive that, according to bodyguard Kes Wingfield, their team had pleaded with the photographers to back off and give the couple some space. The response, however, was dismissive. "We're just doing our job. If you want trouble, we'll bring more people, and then you'll really see something." Plans for a quiet dinner at a romantic Parisian restaurant were soon abandoned, as the couple realized the restaurant's windows would offer photographers an unobstructed view. Opting for privacy, they returned to the Ritz, a decision that would prove consequential. Despite the short 2-kilometer drive, paparazzi trailed them relentlessly. The Ritz's security cameras captured one of the final public images of Diana as she entered the revolving doors, visibly distressed by the day's events. Her frustration was palpable, and her hopes for a peaceful evening had been shattered. Adding to the night's tension was Henri Paul, the Ritz's acting security chief, who had returned to duty around 10 p.m. after being off earlier in the evening. By this point, he had allegedly consumed a significant amount of alcohol. Reports suggest Paul had been called back to the hotel, but had spent the intervening hours at a local bar, where he was seen drinking whiskey. Eyewitness accounts of his sobriety varied wildly. Some bartenders claimed he was never a heavy drinker, while others noted his erratic behavior that night. A video released by the Al Fayed family attempted to dispel claims of negligence, showing Paul acting normally upon his return to the Ritz. Wingfield also vouched for Paul's demeanor, stating he was laughing, joking about my French. Nothing suggested he was drunk. If I had suspected otherwise, I would have sent him home. By 11 p.m., a large crowd, including paparazzi, had gathered outside the Ritz. Shortly after midnight, Diana and Dodi decided to leave the hotel, hoping to avoid attention by sneaking out the back entrance. A hired Mercedes, driven by Henry Paul and accompanied by bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones, was ready. At 12:15 a.m., the four departed the Ritz, setting off on a journey that would tragically become their last. Was it Paul's fault? Was he really drunk? Or was there more to it? You definitely want to know. So keep watching. The final drive, departure from the Ritz, and the fatal crash. Henry Paul, the deputy head of security at the Ritz, assumed the driver's seat that night. Unknown to Diana and Dodi, Paul harbored dangerous secrets beneath his composed exterior. Toxicology reports would later reveal a grim truth. Paul had consumed alcohol levels 3 times above the legal limit in France. Adding to the peril, traces of prescription medication were found in his system, creating a cocktail of substances that severely impaired his judgment. Once on the road, it became clear the paparazzi were not fooled by the diversion. Several photographers on motorcycles quickly gave chase, weaving through traffic in pursuit of their prized subjects. Witnesses later recounted the surreal scene, the black Mercedes racing down the streets of Paris, flanked by motorbikes with photographers aiming their cameras like weapons. Stéphane Darmon, a motorcyclist accompanying a photographer, described Henry Paul's taunting behavior towards the paparazzi, calling it a dangerous game of cat and mouse. As the chase intensified, so did the danger. The car reportedly reached speeds of over 150 kilometers per hour. Paul's erratic driving only heightened the tension, with reports suggesting he deliberately attempted to outmaneuver the paparazzi by weaving through traffic and accelerating unpredictably. There is more. Their journey took a fateful turn as they approached the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Inside the dimly lit underpass, chaos erupted. At high speed, the Mercedes collided with a mysterious white Fiat Uno, sending the car spiraling out of control. Pieces of the Fiat were later recovered on the tunnel floor, alongside the Mercedes' shattered wing mirror, but the Fiat itself and its driver vanished, leaving investigators baffled. Eyewitnesses at the scene described the horrifying aftermath. The Mercedes slammed into the 13th pillar of the tunnel with devastating force, crumpling the vehicle into an unrecognizable mass of metal. The sound of the crash echoed through the tunnel, drawing immediate attention from passers-by and emergency responders. The wreckage revealed the tragic cost of that final drive. Dodi Al-Fayed died on impact. Trevor Rees-Jones, the only survivor, suffered severe facial injuries and later claimed he had no memory of the crash. Princess Diana, though alive when rescuers arrived, was gravely injured. The role of the paparazzi in the tragedy remains a matter of heated debate. Some photographers claimed they were not close enough to the car to have caused the crash, while others admitted they followed the Mercedes at high speed. In an emotional statement, Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, blamed the unwarranted, unnecessary, and unwelcome harassment of the paparazzi for the events that unfolded. The mysterious Fiat Uno added another layer of complexity to the investigation. Why would its driver disappear unless they had something to hide? Was it an innocent bystander caught in the chaos? Or did its presence signify something more sinister? These questions linger, fueling conspiracy theories and public speculation. This was not the final moment for the People's Princess. Several battles were done to save her. Keep watching to know the efforts that were put into place and why they eventually didn't work. First aid response, the race to save Princess Diana at the scene. The harrowing crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel left a scene of devastation that demanded immediate and decisive action. As the chaos unfolded, emergency responders arrived. As her heart couldn't function properly due to lack of blood, he later explained, "I did this procedure to enable her to breathe, but the situation was even worse than anyone had initially feared." Dr. Damon discovered that Diana's pericardium, the protective membrane surrounding her heart, had been torn, which meant that her heart could no longer function properly. By 2:30 a.m. on August 31st, 1997, it became clear that the team needed additional expertise. The decision was made to call upon Professor Alan Pavey, a renowned cardiac surgeon. He arrived at the hospital promptly, ready to join the fight for Diana's life. Inside the operating room, Professor Pavey and the medical team worked tirelessly to locate the source of the severe bleeding. Time was running out. After a desperate search, they discovered the devastating cause, a tear in Diana's upper left pulmonary vein, near the heart. It was a hole in her heart, and the damage was catastrophic. Dr. Damon vividly recalled the intensity of the moment, noting how Professor Pavey expertly sutured the tear, hoping to save her life. Despite their best efforts, it became clear that the damage was too severe to overcome. Her heart struggled to maintain a steady rhythm, and her condition rapidly worsened. The medical team tried everything within their power to revive her. "We tried electric shock several times," Dr. Damon later recounted, his voice heavy with emotion. "But we could not get her heart beating again." Despite their relentless efforts, it was clear that there was little hope. So when was she pronounced dead? And how did the world and royals take this news? Keep watching to know more. Princess Diana's untimely death, mourning, and funeral. After a relentless 2-hour cardiac massage and surgery in a desperate effort to save her life, Princess Diana's body finally succumbed to the severe internal injuries inflicted by the crash. At 4 a.m., amidst the solemn quiet of the operating room, the medical staff's efforts came to a heart-wrenching end. Princess Diana, beloved by millions, was declared deceased. Following her passing, grief enveloped the globe as Prince Charles and Diana's sisters arrived in Paris to bring her body back to London. Their expressions spoke volumes of the deep sorrow they were experiencing. Yet, it was Diana's brother, Earl Charles Spencer, who would later put the profound sadness of the moment into words. At her funeral, he highlighted one of the greatest ironies of Diana's life. A woman given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting had, in the end, become the most hunted person of the modern age. Back in the United Kingdom, the loss of Princess Diana stirred an outpouring of grief, unlike any the nation had seen before. From the lively streets of London to the quiet lanes of the countryside, Britons united in mourning, determined to honor the memory of their beloved people's princess. Flowers, tributes, and heartfelt messages flooded the gates of Kensington Palace, turning them into a symbol of the collective grief shared by millions. The streets were lined with bouquets, each one a tangible expression of Diana's enduring legacy and the love she had inspired. On September 6, 1997, Princess Diana's final journey began. The funeral procession set off from Kensington Palace, drawing thousands to the streets to pay their respects. The casket, carried on a gun carriage drawn by 6 black horses, made its way to Westminster Abbey. Along the route, Diana's sons, 15-year-old Prince William and 12-year-old Prince Harry, walked the final stretch, their hearts heavy with loss, as they honored the mother they had loved so deeply. It was a sight that moved the world, with an estimated 2.5 billion people tuning in worldwide to witness the somber event unfold. The service concluded with Princess Diana being laid to rest at her family's estate in Althorp, on a tranquil island, where she would forever remain at peace. The nation and the world had said their final goodbyes to a princess who had transcended royal status to become an enduring symbol of humanity and compassion. So, who do you think was at fault? Henry Paoli, the paparazzi, or maybe there is more? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. See you in the next one.